Welcome
I
back
don't
to
know.
Prompted and Unfiltered, where a group of business owners just hang out, ask ChatGPT for a prompt, and argue with it. So this week, ChatGPT wants to know if we believe time travel is real. Let's see what they say. So ChatGPT says time travel is a fascinating concept, but scientifically we haven't figured out how to make it a reality. Theoretically, or theoretical physics, particular, I can't read, with concepts like wormholes and Einstein's theory of relativity, suggest that time travel could be possible under certain extreme conditions, like near the speed of light, in the presence of immense gravitational fields. What do you guys think? Is time travel real?
Yes.
That's it? Only one person thinks that it's real?
I don't really know. I mean, I, you know, I've seen a lot of shows on it, and it's interesting, but I guess I really don't know. I don't understand physics and all that, so I can't say yes or no.
So the Matrix, was the Matrix about time travel? That movie came out like what, in the 90s?
Don't know.
Maybe
I
80s?
never watched it.
Oh, Googler over there, Patrick. When did the Matrix come out? And was that based on time travel? I
That
know it was about
movie.
slowing down time, right? But isn't that time travel technically if you're slowing it down?
Technically,
So
it would be.
you're first off, it came out in 1999. It feels like it was way older than that. Um,
Oh, that was
and
the
it's
face. You were basically judging me because
no. It says that we're trying. It's set in a dystopian future where most of humanity is unknowingly trapped in a simulation reality called the Matrix. I always think that's funny. I haven't really ever seen The Matrix, but I always thought it was weird that like only some people were trapped in there because trapped implies that you don't really have a choice. But if some people are out of it, don't they have a choice at some point? Or maybe I just need to see the movie to fully understand it.
I think you would probably just need to see the movie to fully understand that. Brittany, what do you think about time travel? Is it real? Is it
I think
possible?
it's way, way above my pay grade to know that kind of information.
Is this a
But
governmental secret
no,
that we're not supposed to be talking about?
probably, and we're definitely gonna have people show up at our houses in the next week.
So the only reason I say yes, that time travel is real, and this is the only thing I'm going to say so that I don't talk too much, but time dilation is completely real because that's something that we have to solve for in almost any application in most physics, but also especially with like all the work going on with satellites and things like that. So time definitely moves faster the farther away from Earth you are because gravity affects time. And I think it also, like if I'm remembering right, like we're a satellite is technically time is passing faster when it's up in space. So like your GPS that's directing you live on Earth, it is also like technically the satellite that is directing it is in the future because it's moving faster above you. And so all GPS systems have to account for that time dilation when they're giving you instructions and things like that. So in one sense, it's almost like it knows exactly what you're going to do because it's telling you to do it and it's experiencing that ahead of time in kind of the science fiction twist. In reality, it's just time moves slower here on Earth than it does in space. So the satellites are moving faster through time and they experience time slower than we do. So technically speaking, yes, time travel is real in that sense. But only in the sense that time dilation is real, so
I move
technically
slower here on Earth because I'm fat and lazy. The speed of light, though, I've always heard, now I'm not a scientist, right? But that the sun, the things that we're seeing happening with the sun, actually happened years in the past, right? It's just taking that much time to get here, but we see it present time. So maybe the theory Einstein had about, light travel and all of that has something to do with it. I don't believe time travel is currently possible for human beings or animals? Because people get sick at speeds, and if you have to do certain speeds, for instance, astronauts have to train for years and years and years to go into space because of the g-force of gravity and the speed that they are using to get out of the atmosphere, or they get sick. And there's people like in race cars that was trying to set like land speed records. They got deathly sick because of, I guess, maybe the pressure of the gravitational force on their internal organs. So I don't believe that a human could get up to that speed in order to time travel. So I don't think it's possible for a human, but maybe it's possible for, magicians to move stuff across the room in time travel. Like, right? Is that kind of time travel too? If you're making stuff disappear and come back? I know magicians aren't real. That's not what I'm saying. But maybe it is possible. Maybe some of them are.
Let me go get my Harry
You know
Potter
what?
wand real quick.
I'm gonna move past Tom.
Still waiting on my
We'll skip
Hogwarts
that.
letter. I'm just saying.
Hmm.
They
Well,
have
I
to
think
time
that-
Turner to time travel.
Because I think the fallacy there, and again, I'm not a physics professional, but I think the fallacy there is that you're referencing all of those things have to do with g-forces, and you don't experience g-force in space because it's a vacuum. So like you feel the pressure, like I guess in theory, but like speed is relative to Earth. So if I'm not mistaken, so we experience that because we're moving fast here on Earth. But once you get to space, I could be completely wrong, but I don't believe you experience the same thing. So in theory, if you're getting into space to travel at the speed of light, then, which we do know that, hey, if you're traveling at the speed of light or close to it, you're experiencing time differently than those people who are standing still on Earth, or, relatively standing still on Earth, even though we may be driving around or doing whatever we're doing. Then, in theory, the human body could accept that speed. It would just have to happen in space and not here on Earth.
So we need Elon Musk to take us to space in order to test time travel.
Because like that's where the whole like the trip to Mars, right? Like depending on the amount of speed that you have, of course affects like how long the trip takes. But at some of the speeds that they're talking about here on Earth, the human body wouldn't be able to sustain that, let alone floating around in a spaceship doing whatever you got to do. But those speeds don't have the same effect on you while you're in space until you come back into the orbit of the planet. Again, based on my understanding of this.
Agree and we disagree. Time travel might be real. We don't know. Hypothetically speaking, John, if you could travel anywhere in time, past or present, where would you go?
I think I would go in the past.
Any specific time frame in the past, like where?
Like mid 1800s, I guess. I just like just some of the movies I've watched. I like that time period. Everything is simple. You don't have all the gadgets you have now, and you gotta hunt for your food and do everything all the work yourself. And I would enjoy that. I don't. I think that would be my favorite place to go if I could time travel.
What happened? Like what was going on in the mid 1800s? Like is that, I guess, before the U.S. obviously was a country, so we're talking about.
The U.S. was definitely formed in 1777.
Yeah.
Okay, U.S. history, forget that. Right? Okay, so the gold mine rush, mid 1800s. We're even before that.
No.
When was California established?
I just like the like one movie in particular, Dances with Wolves. I like the setting of when Kevin Costner is out, in the plains and there's nothing around. I love that type of setting. And that was the Civil War, wasn't it? I think.
I
No, not
believe
the.
so.
Was it the Civil War?
I think so. I've
I
never
don't know.
actually been able to
Don't
make
ask
it through
me.
the whole movie, but I'm pretty sure he's wearing like a Union
it's
uniform.
yep, it's a long movie.
I've obviously never watched it because I don't know when things happen. But okay, so just like planes, like pre-industrial revolution. Now that's probably not the right thing either, right? Or is it?
Well, yeah, there,
1860s to
Taking over
1870s, by the
everything,
way.
right? What?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Dances with Wolves was set during the post-Civil War era in the late 1860s to early 1870s.
Hey, that's where he wants to go. That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
All right, Donnie wants to go Dancing with the Wolves.
yep.
So would you have like cows and stuff? I mean, obviously you
Sure,
can do that
yeah.
now, but
Yeah, I'd like to have
essentially
stuff
just
like that.
farming and
just
not reliant on big business,
Right,
right?
right.
That's kind
Yep.
of what you're looking for.
subsistence. Yep.
So do you
I don't
get
know
to
what
travel
that
back
is.
with like modern vaccines, or are you like subject to all the same diseases that they had back then?
So it doesn't really say whenever ChatGPT gave me this prompt if we could take anything with this. So I guess that's up to imagination.
So I
But-
guess if we're all vaccinated at the present time, if time
Yeah,
travel
if
were to
you're
be
already
invented tomorrow, we would be fine, right?
Yeah, if you're already vaccinated, that would go back with you.
Brittany, where would you go? Time travel, anywhere, anytime.
I really don't know. Like, I've thought about this. I don't know where I would go.
Nothing fun.
I don't.
Anywhere where Justin is not.
Hey,
Let's go back to 2009 and just stay home that day. No.
I'm fantastic. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm like the life of the party.
I don't know.
Okay, she's not time traveling anywhere. She's not invited on the
no.
spaceship.
So time travel got invented, and she's just like, yeah, I'm gonna stay home.
It's like I'm not going
I
anywhere.
don't know where I want to go.
The whole world
That's
is at my
not-
fingertips, but yeah, I'm
It's all
good right
bad
here.
because I can't go back too far because I'm a woman and they didn't have rights back then and it would not accomplish anything. So I couldn't really go backwards.
So forwards. The answer would be
forward,
forwards. You would
but-
go to the future.
Yeah.
So many of the like, if we were to base this entire premise on what we see in film, I don't know that I wouldn't go to the future because everything's so like dystopian set.
Yeah, like once again, like I'm gonna have no rights and be a slave to somebody. Like I'm okay, right where we're at, where I have rights and can do what I want.
Welcome to my world.
You don't have rights.
Exactly. That was the point I was making in this
Yeah.
conversation. Patrick, where are you going? Past, present, future, time travel.
I don't know that I have like a set. I don't know that I would have like a set time. I think it would be interesting to go back, like some of the early like Greek history would be cool to see. I always thought it would be interesting to see what the Trojan horse actually looked like, and just to see that whole scenario because that's such an interesting thing to me. So yeah, I would probably go back somewhere. Yeah.
So,
What about you, Justin? Where would you go?
I'm a little greedy in some aspects, and I recently read or saw. Now, of course, it's still way out of my budget, but in 1985, Steve Jobs sold 15% of Apple because he needed the money on different things, right? That 15% in 1985 was still worth like $270 million. But in today's valuation, that 15% is like I don't know, 470 billion. Meaning he could technically, well, whoever owned that 15% could be the richest man in the world, right? I would love to go back pre 1985 and figure out a way to get that 15% of Apple.
I have a question here. So your plan here is to rob a bank,
Yes.
go back in time, and invest that money as your escape plan? Like, is the DeLorean parked right outside the bank, or do you have to like drive to it?
I said I got to figure things out, right? I just got to go back pre 1985, make 217 million, buy 15%, and then I'm set, right? But the DeLorean, okay, while we're on time travel, that's a fantastic movie about time travel. That can't actually happen. I mean, not that I believe it did again. Don't judge me. But with the G-forces we were talking about, it was based on Earth. The human wouldn't be able to withstand that.
Yeah, I mean, and I honestly think that's probably the only fallacy in that movie.
You said that with a straight face and tried so hard.
I did. No, but you're absolutely right. Like,
hoverboards are real now. Hoverboards are real now. They might not have been in 1985, but they are real now.
They don't really hover like that, though.
No.
Jetpacks do. Like, they fly.
Well, that's a jetpack, not a hoverboard.
But the possibility is there.
Yeah, no, and I think you're absolutely correct though in your analysis that if that was the true way, like the human body would crumple and turn into goo.
Let's start twisting it though. Okay, so since you guys are judging me and talking about me robbing a bank, what if a twist to the scenario is you can't touch anything, you can't interact with anything around you, like you can't be part of the world, but you were only traveling somewhere to see it, right? You can only visually see it. If that was the case, I think mine would be opposite, and I would want to go forward in time, right? Assuming that I can't touch anything, I'd be coming back to where I'm at now. It's just to visually see it. I would want to go, I put a time on it, maybe 50 years out, just to see what the world looks like. Going on to, Patrick, what you were talking about earlier on the movies of futuristic stuff is all flying cars and hoverboards and
evil warlords.
Correct, evil warlords, right? But go to the future just to see what's in store. That way, when I do come back, I would be able to make changes and, approach things differently. If I couldn't touch anything, I would go forward. Right? What do y'all think? If you couldn't touch
I want to make sure I understand the premise here, right? So we're saying if before, we could go into the past and do things, and it wouldn't necessarily adversely affect us. But now we're able to go into the future, and we can do things, or we can't do anything, but we're going to try to capitalize on our knowledge of the future, is what you're saying?
I would if I couldn't touch anything when I time travel. It doesn't mean I can't when I come back.
But wouldn't that be the same effect as if you mess things up in the past? Because now our present becomes the future's past, but that's technically the past, right?
So anything you know now would change the future.
Yeah, you went to the future 50 years from now, so it's 2075. That's depressing to think about. But it's 2075 because it's 50 years in the future. Now you come back to 2025. So what happens in 2075 is now in your past, and anything that you do to try to alter that would only alter everything else that has to happen. So if you found a stock that was worth a penny today, and in 2075 it was worth $1,000, but you come back and you buy it all up, it's no longer going to be worth $1,000.
Does anybody know how to mute Patrick? Like, he just wants to disprove everything I'm saying. That's cool. Patrick, I'm done with you. Brittany, you already said you're going to the future a little bit. Donnie, what about you? Would it change, or would you still want to go to 75 just to look at it and not be able to experience it?
Honestly, I would probably not. I'm not getting into religion here or anything, but I would want to go back and see what actually happened with the things you read in the Bible, um, with Jesus and stuff like that. And I'm not no type of religion or anything. Just I would want to see what actually happened during that time.
So I asked my team members this the other day, if they would exercise we were doing, time travel. And one of my team members actually said he would want to go back to that era because he would want to, basically what you just said, meet
Yep.
and see the people of biblical times, right? And I thought that was a good answer. He also said he wanted to go back and see dinosaurs, and I told him he would probably get his ass ate, but whatever. I'm gonna avoid anything that could cause me bodily harm because I'm kind of fragile, allergic to pain, some might say. Patrick, what about you? Would yours change, or are you still going to look at a Trojan horse?
Mine might change a little bit because if we're just strictly. I mean, my other one was pretty much observation only too, but I also know I'd get sucked into the action somehow because this is the most epic prank in all of human history. But if I was truly going back to just watch and observe, I would really be interested in going back to see the dinosaurs because every dinosaur that we have now is just our imagination based on the skeletal remains we found, right? So for all we know, T-Rex could have had a giant beer gut walking around just flobbering from place to place, And so I think it would be interesting to know what they actually look like as opposed to our estimations based on a skeleton. So yeah, that's what I
And
mean.
we don't have a ton of the skeletons either, right? We only have a few. So maybe the ones that did survive, or the skeletons that did decalcify, or whatever the terminology is. I need Ross to do some paleontology stuff, but maybe dinosaurs were much smaller than we believe as well. Because
That's very true.
The way I look at it, yeah, whenever we see the movies of the T-Rexes and all of this, these things are 10 stories high, right? In some of the books and the movies, it just doesn't really seem feasible. Not 10 stories, but 2 stories high. And when I see these skeletons, it's that was the alpha. What did the normal ones look like?
Right.
There's 8-foot tall people now, right? But that's not the norm. Those guys play basketball.
Well, so I had to Google this because I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember the specifics of it, but there was a bone. The basics of it, because I can't find the exact thing I'm looking for. But the basics of it is that there was a bone that all these archaeologists and paleontologists had put into a specific dinosaur, and they found out that it was from a completely different species, and it changed our entire understanding of what that initial dinosaur looked like because. I believe it was something with a vertebrae or something, and so they learned that this whole dinosaur that they imagined was somewhat like a cow with a giant tail did not actually have a tail, and it just completely it wasn't that per se, but it was something along those lines, and just one bone that we thought went with this skeleton turned out to go with another skeleton and completely changed our understanding of that species. And I want to say it happened in the 80s or 90s or something, but yeah, an entire different dinosaur. We realized that we were combining, because of one bone, we realized we were combining 2 different ones into the same dinosaur. And in reality, they're 2 completely separate ones.
So, yeah, no, I agree there. My mind's still working on this time travel thing, obviously. But maybe it has to be real. I just kind of had an epiphany here. Everybody has seen the memes and the stuff that how the Simpsons predicted the future. Can we explain that? You guys have seen that, right? Simpson episodes predicting the future.
I have not. Well, I'll be honest. Yeah, I've never seen The Simpsons, so I didn't know that. I've read that. I've seen the articles, but I've never read the actual articles. What did they predict?
I don't remember. It was just a point that I was trying to make, and obviously we'll be talking it again. So whatever.
Example of. The
I mean, they
Simpsons
predicted Trump running for
predicting-
president for one.
Yeah, but,
But
how big of a leap is
was
that? Really?
it
Like he said it
them
on The Apprentice all the
predicting
time.
Or did Trump see it and then decide that's how he wanted to do it? But I think President Trump is sitting around watching The Simpsons, but he could be with his Diet Coke.
So I found a list for us, because who doesn't love a list? Can we get a little countdown going like David Letterman?
Yeah.
Drum roll, please.
So let's start at number 7, because one of these is like a duplicate. This is a voting machine incident. In the episode Treehouse of Horror in 2011, a voting machine is shown changing votes from one candidate to another. This raised concerns about election integrity, especially around the time of the 2020 presidential election. So I don't know that we can say that's really predicting, because like there's a billion movies out there that people are hacking into things to change the outcome of an election. I mean, for all we know, the CIA does it in every single country around the world all the time anyway. So I don't know that I buy that that's predicting the future.
Well, Patrick, you're really trying to get these people to show up at our house next week, aren't you?
Here comes CIA. I got it.
You guys are all using the VPN, right? I'm in the Cayman Islands right now. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'm in a town called Portland, Oregon. I'm in Portland, Oregon right now.
It says in 1998 episode they predicted that Disney would buy Fox. I don't really know enough about that one to say anything, so we'll let them have that one.
It's a pretty big merger, right? I mean,
there's 4 television companies out there, and I feel like Fox and Disney was always kind of like closely linked because they co-produced certain things together. Like 20th Century Fox made I can't think of it, one of the Pixar movies or something like that. So I don't know that I buy that one either. The FIFA World Cup winner in 2007, they mentioned that Brazil wins the World Cup. They won it in 2002. Yeah, I mean,
come on, what's the odds of Brazil winning a World Cup? Let's
Right.
think about this right now.
It's pretty high. Video calls in various episodes, characters use video calls. So to that end, I mean, Star Wars totally predicted it then. The Higgs boson discovery. They talked about it in 1998 and it was discovered in 2012, but it was theorized back in like 1970, I believe. So I don't know that one. Smartwatches. In 95, Lisa is shown using a device that resembles a smartwatch to communicate.
Okay, in 95, we didn't even have iPhones.
I would say the smartwatch was before that.
Yeah, I was going to say,
if you I remember a show, Knight Rider, and he had a kind of like a smartwatch. He called his car from his watch.
Exactly.
That was like the 1985 Trans Am, right?
Yep.
Okay.
But also, in James Bond, in the 70s, he had a smartwatch that could do a lot of things that an Apple Watch can do. I'm pretty sure that Tim Cook just liked some of these old school movies and said, let's make it real.
So I'm wondering now how much more technology has already been developed that just has not been released to the public.
I just want one of the robot dogs. That's all.
I actually had a robot dog at one point. Like, it would bark and everything at you and wag its tail and follow you around for a little while, and then the batteries would die.
Well, I want one of the DARPA ones that can carry a gun or my golf bag or something like that. Or both, depending on how the game of golf is going.
AI robot like Wall-E. Wasn't Wall-E an AI robot from Pixar?
Yeah, because he cleaned up the whole planet, so he could definitely clean up my house.
Right.
Hey, I've got a Roomba.
Appreciate that.
I have a Roomba too. Let's talk about how far those have come. Because we all were relatively close to adults when Roombas first came out, right? We were all towards teenager years, to where we could understand hey, this is cool technology. And now my Roomba that costs, I don't know what, $600. I don't know how much they are now. but it maps my entire house. It organizes the best way to go about it. It even empties itself. Technology has come so far. And if we were to say, hey, back when Roombas first came out, that they could do all of that, we would have been like, no, somebody's time traveling and they brought back old technology or something. You know, like, it's not a far leap. So I think that Roomba is a great example of that. I also love my Roomba.
What about the Flash? The Flash time travels. He gets in trouble by the Time Guardians, right, or whatever they're called.
Yeah, you are correct.
Could
You
you
got
try-
all that right. Like you don't know American history, but you know your DC characters.
I've never really seen The Flash, so could you translate that out of nerd for me?
No, I cannot. I cannot. Cool. All right. Well, time travel might be real. It might not be real. We would all go to different locations.
I think
that's good enough. I think we
Well,
answered
I
AI's
have-
question. No, I don't want to hear your opinions anymore.
No, I have one more question that I think would be interesting. Just as a side note here. So if you could go back in time and you can prevent one tragedy from happening, one singular event in history, what would that event be? And what outcome do you think that would have on the planet now?
Which
It's just somebody else go first.
Not it.
No.
All right, I'm gonna say go back and don't let Eve eat the fruit of the tree.
I'm with
That's
you
a
on
great
that
one.
That would help
That
me
is a
more
great
than
one.
anybody.
Golly, that is a brilliant one.
That would just eliminate everything.
Yeah.
That's
Would
true.
it, or would somebody else screw it up later down the road?
Well, yeah, that's a possibility.
So this is going to be an unpopular opinion, and I'm going to put that out there. I think 50% of people would agree, and 50% will not. Kind of like the cats and dogs debate. Are you a cat person or are you a dog person? Right. I think that I would go back and stop the domesticating of cats. Right? I mean,
you're just
so
imagining
I've got
your cat right
cats.
now.
They annoy the crap out of me. They get into everything. This
Is that-
little asshole was knocking stuff off the table earlier just to do it.
Is that what
And
I've
then I
been
get in
hearing
trouble.
whining during this podcast?
She is. Well, one of them is.
But
Yeah,
one could argue that
like-
cats have never been truly domesticated because they're just a little pain all the time.
If I throw this thing out in the yard, though, I'm going to get in trouble for it.
It's true.
At this point, I've got nothing I can do but to deal with the cat.
She hears you talking.
And maybe the
about
dog, too. Dogs kind of, well, who domesticated a dog? I don't know. That was back in Donnie's time frame he was traveling to. But
it. I think it was long before
They were
that.
long before. then.
long before that.
whatever.
The
I'm
German
not gonna
Shepherd
try.
is a relatively new one, and it's from like 1902, and it's new
Well,
by
see,
like
we're
hundreds of
pre
years.
that. We're pre 1902. But domesticating animals and living with animals, it sounds like a great idea, and I understand the companionship of it. But man, it causes a lot of extra work on the daily basis, regardless of what animal it is, whether it's a dog, a cat, a freaking lizard. Domesticating animals was the dumbest thing, in my opinion, we could have ever done as a species overall.
Okay. Glad you're so passionate about something.
Does that extend to like cows and livestock, or just domesticating animals?
They're not domesticated. They're just food. I'm talking about that live in your house. Yeah, if you got cows living in your house, that would extend to that. But
That's fair. Okay.
those are livestock, Patrick. Two different things.
I'm just trying to get that clarification.
I'm still going to eat my steak.
What about like your birds
My
or,
birds.
or snakes
The-
that you have pet?
Oh. Huh?
You have a pet snake.
Still dumb. Causes me problems.
Okay. So we're going with any animals inside the house. Just don't have any animal inside the house.
That may not be a tragedy, and that may not be where you were going with this, but that's what I'm going with.
Okay.
That works.
It's your turn.
No, I'm not. No, I can't decide what people I'm gonna make live. Like
Somebody's gonna live and somebody's gonna die. Which direction do
Up
we
or
go?
down,
So
you just gotta
many.
pick one.
There's so many. Like I don't. Oh gosh.
I'll buy you some time. How about that? I would go back and prevent World War II. Because when you look at so many things, so many issues that we have, things like that came out of World War II. A lot of it carried over from World War I, depending on what perspective you take. But I would definitely go back and make some changes there.
What would you change? Like, how would you prevent World War II? Like, I think at the
Like to
time.
stop
No,
Pearl
no,
We
Harbor.
didn't
time out,
say
let me
we had to
finish.
come up with that.
No. But let me finish. So at the time, you would think the people in charge would have tried to prevent this world because they knew, countless death was going to happen. But in World War II, you had people dying anyway at this point, right? So we went in to try to stop that. Do you think there was a better solution at that time?
Yeah, I think we needed to renegotiate some of the treaties that come out of World War One. Maybe reallocate how we distributed land and resources post World War One. And I also think that if we were a little more equitable and a little bit more like focus on containment of some of these because really what led to World War II is a lot of political ideologies that were relatively small became mainstream, right? Kind of like what's happening now in our country. So I think that if we were able to better contain and reallocate, like, hey, you know what, you can be crazy, but you're going to be crazy over here. We're going to, we're going to set up some boundaries. We're going to isolate some of that. And as we're redistributing and redrawing some of these boundaries from one country to another and things like that, we're gonna keep some of that in mind. Knowing what we know now, and I'm assuming that since I'm making a change to history, I'm allowed to take present knowledge back. We can isolate some of this. We can have some of these countries like not be on such a tipping point and not be at each other's throats over things that are relatively small scale. And by readjusting that coming out of World War One, we eliminate some of this animosity going into World War II. Because you think, these wars are very close together. They're very intricately linked. And I think that World War One, we very easily could have solved some of our global conflict. And we probably still would have had some wars. I'm not saying all war would have been done. But we would not have gone immediately into a Second World War a few years after we solved the first one, relatively in the grand scheme of time. I also think that, the U.S. wasn't initially drawn into the war, right? We only really got in after the events at Pearl Harbor and after some of the other events over in Europe. And so we were a latecomer to the war. And I think that goes to show that, yes, while you can argue that we went in and solved it, there's also a lot of things that were going on outside of our control coming out of World War One that we probably, if we maybe had some better leadership, we could have handled better.
I think that. So we have this game called 1945. It's based on World War II, and
We need Connor for this video because he's our World War II.
right. He's a big World War
Guru.
II kid, right?
Yeah.
But we have this big board game, so it's basically a massive game of Risk. But you play one of the core countries that was involved in World War II, and you set up a strategy based on your army to contain the other countries. I do believe knowing our government right now, I'm sure, knowing now our military leaders would have had the knowledge to have prevented the war from going as far as it did. I'm not going to say we wouldn't have had a war, but I think we could have contained it a lot better now than what we could have done to start with. Like what you're saying, the borders could have been tighter controlled, the ideologies could have been maintained a little bit, that kind of push this. So
because ultimately, if we had economically stabilized Germany, Germany was at a tipping point, and they really embraced the whole Nazi Party just because they had nothing. There's no resources. There was nothing for them to start rebuilding, and that forced them to just they were looking for any sort of hope. And unfortunately, that
reach
came
on to
from
what was available.
Yeah, and that came from a fringe ideology, much like how a lot of times here in the U.S. Things get bad, some fringe ideology ends up coming out, and all these people flock towards it simply because they need that little bit of hope. And I think that by stabilizing Germany, by maybe making some changes to Treaty of Versailles, we could have prevented the war, or at least
Faith is a fickle thing.
reduced some of the impact that it had in the geopolitical space.
Brittany, what are you stopping now? Patrick bought you time.
He did, and it didn't help.
I know people are going to complain that I talk too much again, so.
Oh,
But I was really just trying to help you out.
Justin for you. I don't know. Maybe 9/11. Stop 9/11. There's a lot of people.
I'm not going to ask her how she would do it. It was hard enough just to get her to give an answer. So I think that can be done in the same concept of what Patrick was talking about on World War II.
Well,
though.
if we're going back
still
in
the
time to
small-
change something, then I know who the people are that took over. So you can just keep them.
But
from
it was
getting
also a small
on.
group of ideology things that spread, right? It was still the same concept as World War II. It
I'm
just
not
happened
stopping
again.
World War II. I'm stopping 9/11. This is different.
But it's the same.
It is the same concept, but
Donnie
But
had
if
the
we
easiest
stopped
one because
World
he's just
War
going to go
II
slap the apple up.
would
Yeah.
9/11 never happen?
Let's go slap the apple. Like,
Yep.
That's what's going to happen. No, dumbass.
Alexa, turn Justin's light red.
Oh man. Yeah,
Fantastic.
Donnie definitely had the easiest one.
Yeah, that's true. Well, time travel has been fun. Patrick, what are we going to talk about next week? We haven't asked AI yet, have we?
No, but I think
Let's
we should
do
talk
it.
about.
Let's figure out next week's episode before we end this one. What does AI want to know from a small business standpoint? We're all business owners. Let's move into that.
I think we should focus on how to start a small business.
Okay.
And just kind of go through and talk about some of the things. I mean, all of us have a business and some of us multiple businesses. So I think it'd be interesting to talk about what AI thinks you need to do and maybe what we do in real actual practice, because I know that I know for me at least, I've always had business plans before I started, and then you get started and you start doing the things to build your business and grow, and the plan goes out the window a lot of times, Like Muhammad Ali said, I think it was Muhammad Ali, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Maybe it was Joe Frazier. But one of those
That
guys.
was I think that was Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson. It was a boxer. They got punched in the face a lot. All the same. I'm just kidding. That's terrible. But I think that would be an interesting avenue for us to go down. What is the punch in the face that changed us from our business plan, and maybe how can we help people prepare for some of this?
Sounds good. Stay tuned for next week's episode.